Hi everyone. I'm sorry about the background noise. If you can actually hear that. But anyways, today will be okay. Welcome back to Alkaline Hydroxide 784, and today will be a special episode, which is on driving. I say because this channel is not supposed to just be for A level stuff. It's more of for people who are of the A level ish age, or like going to university soon, that kind of age. So we so the idea is that we cover other things as well, right? Not just A levels. Yeah. Anyway, I'll eventually run out of stuff to cover for A levels, so I have to do other things as well. So this particular episode will be about driving. So I hope that it doesn't get too long. If it does, I might have to split it into two parts or something. But I'm just gonna cover generally how I don't know the hows and what ifs of drive, like learning how to drive. I guess I can't tell you how to drive, but I can tell you how to learn how to drive. Yeah, you can see there's some weird construction noise going on below. Okay, so the reason why this technically fits into a channel is because there will be some people, if not most people, who would want to learn driving around this period of time. Of course, the guys usually end up learning it in NS, but the girls, well, we have like one choice, which is to learn it in between A levels and uni. Or if you're a poly student, you will be learning it during your poly holidays, maybe. I don't know. Depends on how old you are. So of course, the very first thing to know is that you can only drive if you're 18 years old and above. So if you're learning how to drive, it will be good to make sure that you're 18 years old first before you learn how to drive. And yeah, that's the first question. When do you start? Okay. Yeah, as I think the best time to do it is in between A levels and university, because that's the only time you have. So might as well do it during in that period, that 6 month period. I'm talking about it from a girl's perspective because we have that 6 months of free time, I guess. So that's the best time to do it. Of course, I know there are some people who do it while they're still in JC and they're studying for their A levels, then they'll be doing the driving as well. I mean, if you want to do it in your JC itself, I would recommend not doing it during the A level period because you'll be too busy studying at that point of time. So instead, finish it in the first 6 months of the year. Don't do it in the second half of the year. Do it in the first half of the year. So once you're decided to go and learn to drive, oh yeah, maybe you should cover that question. Do you necessarily have to learn how to drive? That's a very important question. Not really, because the COE is so high, and not that many people would be willing to buy a car in the future, I suppose, especially when you have like way too many train stations already. I don't know. And all the new and upcoming MRT lines, I guess MRT itself might end up being the major transportation here. But if you're gonna go overseas or travel a lot, then driving might be a useful skill to have, because there are many countries in which you can't really get around unless you drive or something. So it'll be good to know. And yeah, it's just a generally useful skill to have, especially if you do have a car, it's quite useful. Or if you want to do a profession that involves driving, it will be quite useful as well. So once you're decided to go and drive, I mean, if you don't have a real use for it, then you should look at whether you're truly interested in it, because for me as one person, I'm not somebody who passionately likes to drive. I might like cars to some extent, but I don't really have any particular passion for driving, you know. Yeah. So although some of my friends might have a passion for driving, but I don't really have it. I'd rather just sit in the passenger seat and enjoy the ride instead of driving the car. But anyways, once you're decided to drive, you can go to one of the driving centers in Singapore, and there's four of them, as far as I know. There's Singapore Safety Driving Centre near Admiralty. There's Bukit Batok Driving Centre near Bukit Batok, I suppose. Then there is Singapore, is it SDC? I don't know. I don't know the names of the other two. How brilliant. I'm sorry. I mean, there's four of them. You know what I'm talking about. There's one in the west and there's one in the center, I think. Yeah, great. As you can see, I'm not even looking at the internet for this. But if maybe in the video you can see where the driving centers are. When I'm talking, I'm not looking at anything. I'm just saying stuff out of my head. Uh, okay, so the driving center that I went to was SSDC because one, my house is in Yishun. Two, my dad and my brother both went there, so automatically just go there again. And three, I don't really have a third reason, so doesn't matter. But I think SSDC is pretty good. So if you're nearby SSDC, then please do go there. I think it's a decent place to go. Of course, there are some people who will go for private lessons, and I can't really give my opinion on that because I went to SSDC. I didn't go for any private lessons, so I can't say anything about it. But I think it's okay if you really want to do it, then you can do it. But if you want to get access to whatever, like if you want to be the first, get access to the test dates and everything on your own, like if you want to be in charge of it on yourself, then you can go to the driving center and you'll get access to a website where you can actually easily book all your slots and everything from there. I don't know how private driving instructors work because apparently they book the exam for you. So if you're a bit late in telling them, then it'll also be hard for them to book the slot in time for you. So I think it might be easier to go to a driving center and do it yourself. Like, you decide which lessons you want to go and when you want to go. Even though there's a bit more structure there, like you have to follow a certain set of timings, versus for a driving instructor, maybe you can see like the weirdest timing and it'll still work. So yeah, it really depends on the person. It's up to you to decide whether you go to a driving center or to a private driving instructor. But anyways, if you're looking at I'll be telling based on the driving center experience, and whatever advice I give will be based on that as well. So if you're not planning to go to a driving center, then maybe it may not be worth for you to watch the video anymore. So I'm just saying. Yeah. Okay, so once you decided to go to your driving center and you register, you have to take a picture, to put in your driving license once you're actually done with it. And of course, the very first thing that you need to finish is your basic theory test, and that is pretty simple to do actually. So if you can choose to attend the 4 lessons that they give you, like little classroom kind of lesson, you can sit there and listen to an instructor that's teaching you the theory and the rules. And if that helps you, then go for it. If you really don't want to go through a classroom and then fall asleep or something, then you can look at it online as well. SSDC has the option to look at the lessons online on your own. So that's just how it works. And once you're done that, you can book a test and just do the test. It's very simple to do. It's possible to get full marks without batting an eye. And the great thing about the driving center is that you get to do practice tests before the actual test. So once you go for, you can book as many practice sessions as you want, and the questions there will be quite similar to the ones that you get in the final exam. So if you really want to do some actual practice, like some people like to practice past year papers instead of reading the notes, then you can do it here at the driving center. It's very easy to do it. So in fact, you're supposed to pass the practice test in order to go to do the actual test, which ensures that a lot of people in the driving centers actually pass their test rather than fail it every time that they do it, in a sense. So once you've passed your basic theory test, you can start booking lessons already. But just make sure to do your final theory test by the time that you're done with your driving lessons, because you need to have that in order to do your driving test. Like, you need to finish that. So you can either do it before your lessons start, because usually your driving lessons will be quite a few months away from the date that you book them, given that the driving lessons in driving centers tend to be quite packed, like they get booked very easily. So, for me, I was when did I do my basic theory test? I think in January, February that time. And then my driving lessons were almost a month or two later. So it was very near June. Actually, it was in May. Like my lessons were all driving lessons were in May first of all, and since it was so late, the after June, the next time I could really do it was during university itself, which is not a good idea. So please don't have lessons during your university time. It's very annoying to do it because you had to travel from your uni to your driving class, and if you have other activities, it's not very conducive for you. But anyway, that's for later on. But for now, that's the basic progression. You do your basic theory test, you book your lessons first, and then maybe do your final theory test in the meantime. And then you finish your driving lessons, and then after that you go for a test. So the driving lessons themselves have a certain curriculum in the sense. So you get like this little booklet thing which tells you all the lessons, all the stuff that needs to be covered in the lessons. And after each lesson, the instructor will tick the stuff that has been covered, and if you're able to progress, then you'll be allowed to do the next thing in the next lesson, and so on and so forth. So about booking lessons, well, as I mentioned earlier, when you first start booking the lessons, you'll realize that the entire month ahead of you might be booked. So if it's really the case, don't fret. Just book the next available slot first, and book as many slots as you can in a single session, because the earlier you get the slots, the better. Because if you think you're not free, then you decide to wait until that like 1 week before, you may not actually get the slots anymore. The slots will be booked by other people. So it's easier to book the slots first and then cancel them if you are not free on that day. So there's a certain cancellation period before which you can cancel. Like if you have 3 days before you can actually cancel the slot. So do book the slots first, especially if you're like 1 month away. Then just book the slots first. You can even cancel it like a week before, and it's to be okay in a way. The other strategy you can use to get slots as much as you can is to check the page at weird timings like 12 a.m. I'm not kidding. You usually get people cancelling their slots at such timings. I don't know why, but really. So if you're the kind who stays awake at night, you can just keep refreshing the page at that time and hope that someone cancels a slot at that time, and you can then just quickly chop it before someone else does. Yeah, so usually when someone is cancelling the slot, it's either that they cancel it in time, or if they're cancelling it less than 3 days before the class, it'll be a trisell. So if it's like you suddenly sick and then you have a class tomorrow, then you want to cancel it. If in that scenario, you'll be doing a trisell kind of thing, because you would be just hoping that someone else would grab the slot. And usually it happens because driving classes are so in demand, so don't worry about it. But if you really cannot get anyone else to take the slot, and if you're very sick and you can't go, then you have no choice but to pay the money even though you didn't go to the class. So please be a bit careful with it as well lah. Just saying. If you already know in advance that you won't be free on the day, then don't bother booking it. But if you're not really sure whether you're free or not, then just go ahead and book first. Then cancel it maybe a week before. So it's just to be safe. So yeah, that's how the booking thing works. Yeah, there's nothing else really much to say about the booking part. So for the actual lessons, when you go and do your lessons, make sure that you listen to whatever your driving instructor says. Sometimes if you're a bit blur, you might be a bit told off, but don't worry, they won't really scold you or something, but they will be a bit annoyed at you if you keep messing up your particular driving thing. But if you learn very quickly, then good for you, you'll be fine, I think, kind of. But towards the end, right, once you've learned everything and you you go to the actual drilling of just practicing everything again and again, it might be quite stressful because you had to get everything right now. At the beginning, it's like even if you make some small mistakes, as long as you get it, they'll allow you to go on. But at the end, right, whenever you have a checkpoint and they need to test it, you must do it properly in order to move on. You can't just keep making mistakes at the very end after so many lessons of driving. So usually you will need about 20 lessons to learn everything, and any extra lessons if you want to do extra practices or anything before the exam, before your driving test. Because sometimes your driving test is 1 month after your final driving lesson, so you might want to include some extra lessons just to practice doing the course and the road and everything, just to make sure you don't forget anything. So once everything is done, you'll be finally doing your driving test. And for the driving test, I think, yeah, if you're very confident of doing the test already, and if you think you can pass, then book it. But if you don't feel very confident first and you feel like you may not pass it yet, you can talk to your driving instructor first, see if there's any areas for improvement. If your driving instructor thinks that you can improve in time for the exam, then just book the exam first and try your best. If you still feel it, then you have another time. Although you'll be wasting like $200, so oops. So just try to pass in the first try so that you don't have to waste $200. Okay, for me, I passed in my first try, but I did get a lot of points in the sense, so it's a bit like a barely pass kind of scenario. But it's okay. I'm not. I'm fine, I guess. I mean, I don't really drive very fast or anything, so it's not really an issue. Oops. Oh yeah, so when you're doing your driving lessons and you tend to drive slowly, you can drive slowly at first, but over time try to match the speed of the road at least. Of course, please don't exceed the speed limit, but try not to drive too slowly. Otherwise, all the other drivers will start like, you know, not being happy about it. And then if you really want to go slowly, right, just follow another learner car and then just go slowly with them at the same time so it won't look as weird. Yeah. Okay, cool. Anyway, that was weird. Okay. So after you're done all of that and you pass your test, you will get your license and you can immediately apply for, okay, not immediately, but after like 4 hours or something, you can apply online to get your traffic police license. And you can then oh yeah, before you start driving lessons you need to have your PDL, so just remember to have that before your lessons as well. But for the after everything is done, you get the actual license and you will get your card with the photo that you took on the first day. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how you learn how to drive from a driving center kind of standpoint in a sense. So what are some of the challenges that you face apart from all of whatever I've said so far? As I mentioned earlier, it's not a good idea to do it during university. So if you can, please try to finish it before like June or July, so that you don't have to worry about this in university. Because for me, what I ended up doing was I did most of my lessons in May, but I went overseas in June. So like the next time I went to driving class was in July, and I didn't really have enough time to finish everything in time for my university, which had orientation in August, like end July, August, and then after I had lessons and started lessons. I was having driving lessons at that point as well. And I had to go at like 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. Maybe not 8 p.m. 8 p.m. was too late, but like 6 p.m. And that was pretty troublesome for me. Yeah, so it wasn't fun. It's very tiring to go through like an academic day and then have to go and drive later on. Your mind is just not gonna work properly. So I think it's better not to do it during your university time unless you have your mind is always nice and ready to do anything you need to do. Or if your schedule is very free, then you can do it. Or maybe if you're going to Bukit Batok driving center, it might be possible. And if you're in NTU, yeah, it would work. But if your driving center is SSDC and you study in NTU, then is tiring, I should say, to go through and fro between the two places. So yeah, that's the final note. I wish you good luck in learning how to drive. You'll be spending quite a bit of money, but if you are already going to be doing it, then yeah, just do it through the driving center. I mean, the easiest way to save money is to be a good student and not have to take more than 20 lessons to learn everything. So that's the easiest way to to save money. Just don't do too many lessons, like don't be too blur. Yeah. um yeah, and that's about it. I have nothing else to say. With that, if you found the video useful, please press the like button and subscribe. And with that, I would like to say thank you and bye.